Good evening, and welcome to the Monday, April 10th Cross Lake Council meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we begin our agenda, I would like to welcome Bill Monroe, our new City Beat reporter from the Northland Press. And he is sitting up at the table with Teresa, so welcome, Bill. He has an extensive background in the newspaper business. He came to us from Iowa. He and his wife, Chris, moved permanently up here last June. He was the executive director of the Iowa Newspaper Association, and prior to that, he was the publisher of the Spencer Daily Reporter. So I know that he can do the job nicely, and thank you, Bill. We do have some additions to the agenda, so at this time, I would like approval of the additions to the agenda, and we need a motion for that.
So moved.
First, Schrupp.
Second.
Second, Brad Nelson. Is there any discussion? If not, I'm losing my train of thought here. If there is no further discussion, I'd like all those in favor of the motion on the floor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. We'll get down to business here. You'll notice that we again have an extensive consent calendar. This by no means that they are not important for you all to pay attention to, but in the relevance of time, we ask that you look at them prior to the meeting, and they are also available on our city website. So at this time, we need a motion from the City Council to accept the consent calendar as submitted.
So moved.
First, Schrupp.
Second.
Second, Hecox. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. We have a full agenda tonight, and the first one under critical issues is Mark Holman from the Log Church, and he has some information on some new programs that they've been working on. So, yes, Mark, please come up. Thank you.
Hello, Patty, and all of you guys. My name's Mark. I'm the new pastor up here at the Log Church. Although I'm not new to the town, my folks retired here in '89, and been coming here as a vacationer. And until about 4 years ago, we moved here and made Cross Lake our home. And then the Log Church asked me to be their interim pastor. I tried to ruin it during the interim time, but in spite of that, they called me to be their senior pastor, and it's a privilege to be with you guys. One of the things I believe in and that we believe in at the Log Church is we're called to make a difference in the city. And we're like, how can we make a difference? I asked my congregation, what is one area that you think we could make a difference in this city, a need that we could meet? And I was surprised when the survey came back from our people that the number one thing that they raised was mental health. That they saw that there was a big void in services for mental health, whether it be to help people with depression, anxiety, bipolar, whatever that would be. We have the CEO of Essentia St. Joseph's Hospital that goes to our church, and then he came up to me after the service and said, Mark, what the people have identified is spot on. Over 40% of people in this county battle mental health illnesses, whether it be depression, anxiety, and yet there are no services for that in the city of Cross Lake. You have to go to Brainerd, you have to go to Crosby, you have to go to other places for that. So we started doing some research and doing some work and said, okay, if we want to get involved in mental health, if you haven't been to the Log Church lately, we have a new facility that includes a gymnasium and includes a bunch of classrooms for adults and so forth. What I'll be sharing with you guys and leaving behind is we now have what we're calling is kind of a comprehensive mental health ministry that we're looking to build that's for the city. We're going to house some of the things in our church, but we're also reaching out to Father Ryan at the Catholic Church, Lutheran pastor, we're going to connect with all the other churches in town as well and say, how can we work together to help people with mental health? The first phase to our ministry or aspect to our ministry is going to be awareness forums, where one of the big aspects of mental health is a lot of people just don't understand it. There are a lot of false assumptions. There are stigmas attached to mental illness that just simply aren't true. Many people just don't really know what anxiety is, bipolar is. My family has battled it on all different levels, and until you've been there personally, you think you understand, but you don't. And so what we want to do is be a place that offers forums that are open to the community. And we're going to be partnering with community organizations, county organizations like NAMI, the National Association of Mental Illness, and we are hosting awareness forums at least once a month. We're also bringing in places like From Brainerd and others to come in. They're going to be doing in June an event called Acts of Solace, which is a reader's theater type of play about suicide and depression. We're having one that we're doing coming up in April here that's on suicide prevention. So each month we're going to offer awareness forums that are open to the public, no cost. Other things that we're going to do is we're going to have articles on our website, webinars that we offer, and we also have assessment tools that people can take to learn about, do I have mental illness or does someone that I know, are they struggling with it? The second layer to a mental health ministry is having support groups. And instead of having to travel all the way to Brainerd or Crosby, we're going to be looking to offer support groups. What are those support groups? I wish I could tell you. We're just going to wait and see. It might be a support group for anxiety. It might be a support group for bipolar. It might be a support group for family to family is another one. A lot of families battle this with their kids. So we're going to be looking to offer support groups in the future that we hope to launch as early as fall. A third thing that we're super excited about is a partnership. The third area is what's called counseling. There needs to be professional counseling. People need help with mental illness. And we're partnering with Lakes Country. And Lakes Country is maxed out at their facility down in Baxter, and they were actually looking for a location where they could expand to. They thought they were maybe going to go to Little Falls, and then I showed up at their doorstep and changed their mind and said, why don't you come here to Cross Lake? And we're looking to bring them in and house them out of our facility so that they can have counselors that are offering office hours here in Cross Lake. So if you're looking for counseling services. And so we're hoping to launch that potentially as soon as this summer, so that we would offer counseling services that we would then look to expand. And again, that's open to anybody that needs counseling. Another layer is called training. We want to provide opportunities for people that want to get trained in how to work in mental illness. There's a class called Mental Health First Aid that you can get a certification for. We're gonna host that as well as other trainings. So if people are looking to get professional training in mental health, we would be a host facility for that. The fifth area is to help children and youth, and that is a big one. A lot of kids and parents don't know how to talk about this together, so we're going to have a big effort to try to help children, youth, and families deal with mental illness. And then the final thing is just to offer resources, books, our library, and offering tools and resources to help people. So essentially, I'm just here to announce kind of to the city of Cross Lake that the Log Church we don't know what we're doing. I'd love to tell you we do. But we're just making ourselves available and saying this is going to be our contribution back, one of the things we contribute back to the city. So if you know anyone that would like to help with mental health, if you have any resources that you would like to point us to, we will be there to offer our facilities, to offer ourselves, and say what can we do. And not just in mental health, but if anything else comes up, I just want you to know the Log Church and where our heart is, we want to help this city. So if there's something you need of us, just give us a holler. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you.
By the way, we're going to leave these behind so that you know that.
Perfect,
Who do I leave
perfect.
them with?
Do you want to put them on that table way in the back behind those gentlemen, and then as people walk out, they can pick one up? Thank you. Under critical issues, the next item is an update on the Cross Lakers. And Bob Perkins will give us a brief synopsis.
Good evening. Thank you. I believe that you have seen this before. I don't know how clear that's going to be, but a couple of things. The Cross Lakers went down to St. Paul and the state capitol, visited the Minnesota design team folks. I wasn't able to attend, so I hear that there was a lot of excitement, motivation. They toured a design center down there. They worked with the group, gave us some exciting ideas to come back. So immediately upon the return, we set up a meeting for a group to further organize. we established a chair, which happens to be myself. Mike O'Connell in the back is a co-chair, and Bill is part of the communication committee along with his wife. And Cindy is a part of the organization yet to be determined. And who am I forgetting? Carla White is the recorder. But our focus, obviously, is to get the summer off right. We've got a lot of exciting things coming. I don't know if you've seen the design center in town here. Just at a high level, some of the things that we've been throwing around and working on, we've got about 9 projects that we're looking at. Those range from things that would complete early this summer to out to about the year 2025. So I'll keep it brief. I think you have a lot of things on the agenda tonight, but if you have any questions.
Thank you, and I know that our public relations group is working on communications so that our residents will know more and more as things progress. Thank you so much, Bob.
Absolutely, thank you.
Under critical issues, the next item is Mike Stone, and this is an update on the new school building for the Cross Lake Community School.
Mayor Norgard, Councilman, Cross Lake community members, we're excited to share a project that we've been working very hard on. We're all members of the Lake Foundation, Lake Area Kids Enrichment Foundation. And just wanted, we've got several board members here today with us, Jenny Max, Mike O'Connell, Stone, John Sesson, Christine Davis, Leah Henderson, and Richard. Where's Richard? Oh, there he is. Okay. So we're excited to share a project that is very near and dear to all the foundation members and hopefully many of the community members of our. Right now, Cross Lake Community School is, well actually, both my daughters went to Cross Lake Community School. Savannah, she's graduating from college now. She went there at Camp Knutson when it was held at its first year at Camp Knutson in 2000. And since the year she, after the first year, there was 33 students that graduated in that first year class. And now the school has grown to 209. And it's currently located in 3 buildings throughout Cross Lake and is kind of busting at the seams. There's about 140 students that are on site, and with the remainder in the new online high school. So Cross Lake Community School is in desperate need of a new facility to bring all the kids together. And that's, Cross Lake Community School is a charter school. If you're not familiar with that is, it's a public school just under a little bit different organization, so anybody can attend there tuition free. And one of the things that is restricted to charter schools is that they cannot own their own building. So that's why a concerned group of supporters got together, and we want to give Cross Lake Community School the gift of a new school. So I'll hand it off to Mike O'Connell, and he'll kind of talk us through what the facility that we're planning on putting together is.
Thank you. I'm Mike O'Connell. As Mike Stone mentioned, we are currently in 3 buildings right now, 135 students. We're going to be centralizing the location of the school to be off of the corner of Swan and 66, which is the old Catholic Church site. By building this facility, it will immediately double the capacity and hold 250 students with the ability to expand in the future. We're working with a lot of community focus of companies and volunteers throughout our community in the Brainerd Lakes area that's helping to cut the costs and support us in this effort. It will not create new taxes for our local citizens. It will be through state lease aid. So that's one misconception, and that is always at the foremost of everybody's thoughts, the increase of taxes. When we designed the building, we wanted to create a building that was complementary to the aesthetics of Cross Lake, not just a big brick building that wouldn't fit in, but something that would be to the character of the community, the school, the environment. And I will have Jenny place the video and walk you through the video so you can see a flyby rendering of the exterior location along with the interior with the classrooms and the community focus areas for everybody. This is northbound on 66
Hi,
and to the right
my name is Anna.
Guam.
I'm 11 years old and I'm in 5th grade, almost 6th grade. And before school starts, I'd like to take you on a tour through a school that I might be going to. I'm excited to tell you about it and show you all the cool things that my friends and I will be able to see every day when we come to school. Here's where I'll walk in every morning in school. It's like the front door at home. Oh, and that's how you get to the principal's office. You don't ever want to find yourself in there. Let's just keep going. It's kind of like we're walking down a street, and it's like the rooms are buildings we can go into. Here is where my friends and I can hang out before school, have some classes, and this will be the lunch line. Oh, and my mom's excited because she'll be able to go to cooking classes here at night with her friends. And this room is going to be awesome. It's called a solarium. It's kind of like having the outside inside. We'll be able to actually learn about the outdoors with real-life plants. Reading about them in a book is okay, I guess, but seeing it in real life is going to be way more cool. I think my grandma and her gardening club are going to meet here in the mornings and make sure all of the flowers don't die and they always look pretty. I think her and her friends are a good choice because they apparently have green thumbs, so they say. This place is like a little town for all of us. Let's take a walk down Whitefish Way. That's what we call the road to my classrooms. I can't wait to pick out my own locker and desk in my classroom. This is going to be way better than what we have now. It's going to be so nice not to have to put my coat on during the winter to go to another building for my classes. It's all going to be in one building now. Oh, there's Max. He's my favorite kindergartner. He always makes me laugh. Hey Max, what you up to?
Oh, hey Anna, I'm just getting ready for sharing. Today I brought Lightning McQueen. We're reading about the letter L. I like this room, but the playground is even better. I love playing out here with my friends. Hey, Mr. Anderson. See you later, alligator.
See, I told you he was funny and cute. And now, let's check out the gym. I'm pretty sure I could be in this room all day if I could. I love sports. My sister is more artsy, so she likes it for a different reason. Oh, hey, Maddie.
I like the gym because the music room opens up to it like a stage, and our school band can have concerts for our parents and grandparents. I think other bands can come and play too. My dad says he wants to watch the district play here, whoever that is. I like concerts because Mom and Dad usually take us out for ice cream afterward to celebrate. Maybe the school should add an ice cream parlor.
How about we take another tour when this thing is built, and Maddie, Max, and I can show you around the real thing. Until then, have a good spring and summer, and from all of us, thanks for watching.
See you later. Thanks for playing. Thanks for watching.
So as you see through the video, we put the location in the front corner, so it'd be the heart of the community and branch off to the north of 66 and in the town square and build the connectivity that we're looking for our community. We also, on the 10-acre parcel, pushed it towards the front so it would be where all the improvements currently are, and we would be preserving all the natural woods behind it for trails and outdoor classrooms and such. We'll go to Jenny with the capital campaign.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. As Mike had mentioned, really a big piece of this project is involving the community and in getting everyone involved in a lot of ways, large and small. The school itself, as mentioned, cannot levy for operating or for capital expenses at all to receive their funding. And so the project will be will be funded in part by the state lease aid that the school is eligible to receive. That helps them with their rent payments for the buildings that they're in, and then also for some maintenance needs. But the gap for us is a Lake Foundation between the building that we can build, that the school can afford to pay for, and the building we'd like to have for the community and the additional things for the students is really where our fundraising campaign comes in. What we came up with as an organization is to become a lake acre owner. And so what that is tying in the concept of the outdoors and the lakes, which is such an important part of our community, to also the school's focus of being an environmental school and tying in their curriculum and learning about water and nature and the environment all surrounding us. And what we decided to do was there are 14,442 acres on the Whitefish chain, and we are selling them each acre at $200 each. Now, obviously, you don't actually own the acres, but if you have a favorite fishing spot, or you have that spot out in front of your cabin, or a special place on the chain that you have a memory there, you can buy that acre. That will be reserved as yours. You will get a certificate that just commemorates your contribution to the project, and that can be something that you can hold on to forever. We're also going to have, you might have noticed when the video walking into that main hallway, the map was on the wall, and so we want to have this commemorative, thanks to everyone that's a part of this opportunity. We encourage everyone to get together with different groups that they might be a part of. You might be in a book club, or your faith organization, your families. If you have a large extended family, get together and contribute as a group and make that dedication together. The total project at this point, as we're trying to work through many variables, is $7.7 million. And of that, we're looking to raise 1.7 to $2.3 million. The difference becomes some of the needs and some of the wants. And that's where the community comes in, and adding those additional pieces for the community to really have those amenities that Cross Lake would love to have. Did I forget anything else? Oh, contributions can be made one time or over 5 years. So if you think you can do a little extra, we'll spread it over 2 years or 5 years. That's more than welcome. And we are in the final stage of building our website. We encourage everyone to go and look at it, buildtheschool.org. It's a beautiful site, and you'll be allowed to go out there and pick your acres and contribute and be a part of this. So please contact us if you're interested. Also, we're looking to reach out to civic organizations, churches, clubs, groups, anyone who wants to hear more about the project. We want to come to your meetings or your events and share more information as well. Did I miss anything? Okay, I think that's all we have. Thank you.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the letter from Briggs and Morgan that was included in the packet?
I think I know what the letter's primarily about. I haven't read it actually myself, but so we're going to be looking to finance approximately $6 million of this project. And through private financing, we were able to possibly get a much lower interest rate as a conduit loan or pass-through loan, utilizing the city as the pass-through, utilizing the city's bonding ability or bonding levels to pass this through. There would be no financial liability associated with the city. They would just have to sign off on it, and as I understand it, it would go against the city's ability to bond for that year that the loan would be taken in. Right. So, but the school would assume complete liability, financial liability, or the Lake Foundation, as the owner of the school, would take complete liability along with the lender, the private lender.
This letter was in the council packet, and so it explains really well what conduit financing is. Council members, do you have any questions for Mike or Mr. O'Connell or Ms. Max?
And
What
I
are
guess-
you, what are you asking from the council tonight?
So we made a presentation to EDA, just to kind of get their blessing to bring it to the council. So I guess we were looking for the council's approval to proceed with the format of this conduit loan. And, you know, after we do that, then we can go back to our private lender and finalize all the details with Mike Linus, Briggs & Morgan, and our lender.
So, Mike, let's kick on the conduit loan a little bit. I think it's, what do we got, $10 million bond a year for the city or something, and that's gonna plug up $7 million of it or something, is that right? But this year, we're not gonna use any of that bonding anyway on the projects we have? Or we're certainly not gonna exceed it?
Right now, we're not intending to exceed that level, including that debt. And what this really is you're just running the debt through the city and the bond issuance through the city to get the tax exempt status for the bondholders, is the way it works. And so that's really what they're trying to do. So there's, you know, if you go through that letter, especially if you get on the second page of it, you know, in the middle it says the issuance. I can put this up here. You know, the part of the key is here, is in the middle where it says, the issuance of notes will not affect the city's credit rating or bonds it issues for municipal purposes. Then it goes on to talk a little about how this is a common practice. You see it quite often with municipal financing, especially with hospitals, clinics, in this case, charter schools. So I'm not going to read this in its entirety, but I would encourage all of you to read it. And if you have questions, you know, funnel them through Mike Stone. That'd be okay, Mike? Sure. Sure. And I can help answer those questions, too.
So I guess, I don't know if this is a time to, there's a lot of people out in the audience here. Is it a time to see if anybody wants to comment on it? I don't know.
Are there any comments on what you've heard tonight? I think.
Are there any questions or concerns? There's one thing in that letter about the city can charge 1% or whatever percentage it wants to run the loan through the city. And I would kind of like to push to waive that as our contribution to them.
And I think that may be a good discussion point when they bring the final papers together.
Okay.
All right.
Great, thank you, Dave.
And I'd just like to bring up the point that only through getting the interest rate that we're looking at about a 2.9% interest rate through the use of this conduit loan, that's basically the only way financially that we would be able to finance this school. I mean, it gives us so much more purchasing power rather than servicing interest on this. So it would be, you know, extremely beneficial for getting this project off the ground to be able to utilize this tool. And we sure appreciate the city considering it. And
Is there a deadline that we have to say yea or nay on?
well, I think
On
just
this, is
to
it-
go forward, you know, we're hoping to get some sort of action from the council tonight, if possible, if the council felt comfortable enough to at least let us proceed in figuring out a lot of the details with the professionals.
So from what I understand tonight was to bring us up to date on where you are and what your financing options were, and to get the support of the council to move ahead with the conduit financing. And then in May, you will bring the final resolution to the council. Is that the way I understand it?
Yeah, that's a pretty good
Yes.
summary.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Dan is on the phone and he
Okay,
could comment.
okay, Dan?
Oh, thanks, Mayor and Council. I've been involved in a number of these types of financings in Brainerd, mainly having to do with St. Joseph's Medical Center. There's no issue as far as liability to the city. I think at this point, if the council is so inclined, you should give at least conceptual approval to this type of financing, and then subject to the appropriate resolutions and other documents coming forward in the future. There will be a number of resolutions that the City Council is going to need to adopt, and bond counsel will prepare those. Now, our bond counsel, Mary Ipple, is with Briggs and Morgan, and she will also review on behalf of the city all the documents to make sure that there is no liability to the city. But again, I've been involved in a lot of these. There's no issue as far as liability to the city. I would encourage you to go ahead and give your conceptual approval so that they can move forward.
Okay. Thank you. Is there a motion from the council?
I'll make the motion.
Yeah.
Okay,
Go ahead, Gary.
motion by Gary Hecox that the council supports the advancement of this particular project. And Dave, you had a second? Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion on the floor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
support.
Thank you. The next thing on the agenda is the mayor's report, and in lieu of having any comments tonight, I am going to pass that on to all the comments that will be probably coming up further on in our meeting tonight. The next one is the public forum, and I just want to remind you that no action will be taken on any of the issues raised. If appropriate, the issues will be placed on the agenda of a future council meeting. Speaker must state their name and address, and each speaker is given a 3-minute time limit. And because I know that there are people out there who have comments on the under commission reports, I'm asking those of you who are planning to talk about or have some discussion points on the ordinance changes to hold those until we get to that part of the agenda. That way we'll have a little bit consistent flow of what our projects look like tonight. So thank you very much. Is there anybody who has anything other than comments on the ordinance changes for the public forum tonight? Good. If not, we will continue on. The next, oh, sorry. We have someone else? And as always, state your name and address.
Michael Connell, 35411 Riverwood Court. Just would like to further elaborate on the MDT Cross Lakers housing work group. I am the co-chair for the housing work group, and it was voted a top 10 priority in the community that varied off from the MDT visit, focusing on the connectivity of the community through our visit this September. Since then, we have applied for a Minnesota Association of Realtors and National Association of Realtors walkability grant that was granted to us. It's the only one in the state and the country. They extended that program just for our community. That will be held on June 12th and 13th of this coming year. It will focus on how do we connect the businesses, the housing, the community, and the natural amenities of our town. It will be a focus going north of Moonlight Bay to north of County Road 3 of Crosswoods Golf Course, down south County Road 3, and connecting it to Town Square. As you heard from the school earlier, a big function of the school is housing. A big function of medical providing assisted living to clinics, expansion in our community, have all circled back to housing from all ages of entry-level workforce housing, of nurses and teachers coming into our community instead of commuting from Brainerd Baxter, Breezy Point, Pequot, and leaving at the end of their day. There have been 3 private developers of Crosswoods, D.W. Jones and Babinski, that have all expressed interest in different levels of housing types, may it be apartments, condos, townhomes, single-family, entry-level workforce housing. That would be at market rate. We're not talking about Section 8 or anything like that. We're talking about a balance of housing in our community for year-round residents and the amenities that we all want to provide for our community. We have lists of renters already looking into the area, and 2 housing studies have been completed and are going to be provided to us by the end of the month to help support the type of housings that could better fit Cross Lake as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Any other public comments?
Council and Mayor Dan Solar from 13435 Meyer Lake Road in 50 Lakes, and co-owner of Cross Lake Hardware, along with my wife Betty. I was nominated and volunteered to represent actually 4 people on behalf of my employees that work at the store there, based upon this housing issue that's coming up. And so what it is that we're in favor of more housing, in as was stated just in a few minutes ago, in the area. And the 4 employees I have that would like the housing, one is, and I'll just go through them real quick here, just so you can understand that there is a need here in town. We just hired an employee 3 weeks ago, Cameron. Cameron is currently living in Crosby, where that's the only place he could find an apartment, and today his truck broke down, so he cannot make it to work. So there was a transportation issue there. If he would have lived in town, it would have been a lot easier for him. His first week, he lived out of his truck for his job. The second week, we put him up in a hotel so he could still work with us, and then the third week, he finally found an apartment. Our other employee, Waylon, who's been with us for 3 years, he's 26 or 28. He lives out of his parents' basement and hasn't found an apartment in some time, but eventually he's got good employment with us and would like to stay with us, so it'd be nice for him to get something a little bit closer. Our third employee is, I'm trying to think where our third one is. Well, we got Jan Gibson back here. Jan, you want to raise your hand? She's an employee with us, Jan Gibson. She's been with us for 8 years. And Jan is still working with us, but because she cannot find a decent senior living housing, she'll be leaving town and going back down to Minneapolis after the summer. She's going to stay with us until then, help us through the summer, but she's going to leave because she can't find something that suits her needs. I'm trying to think of the fourth one I had. That was, Michael. Michael moved up from Florida. He came in to work for us for the summertime, and Michael's an assistant manager with us. And so in order to find him housing for the summer, he's living in a 3-season cabin that we found from a friend until May 15th. Then he has to move out and move to another 3-season apartment place until that closes up November 1st. And then after that, we don't know what we're going to do with him for the wintertime. So between now and then, we do need to find something for him to live in somewhere in Cross Lake. And so, and they're all different age groups. I mean, everybody, and they all have different needs. And it's an idea that we do need. Just think if we bring teachers to town for this new school, they need to have a place to stay. So anyway, that's my 2 cents worth. So I would encourage the council to promote this, as a lot of you are business owners, that we do need extensive housing up here. And I think and if you're worried about some shack going up, we're in Cross Lake. I don't think you have to worry about that. The people that run businesses in Cross Lake take care of their businesses, and I think you can depend upon those people that are producing these establishments to do a very good job. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Dan and Betty Solar. Any other public comments? Okay, thank you. Now we will move on to the city administrator's report. And Dan, are you there?
I am, thank you. The item we have is carryover from the last meeting. I think the council wanted all of the council members present, and since council member Schrupp was not, carried it over to this meeting. It's a change to the employee wellness program portion of the policy manual. It was changed in 2014 to exclude retirees, and there was a motion from the Personnel Committee to change the employee handbook back to allow retirees that are still on the city's health care program to utilize the fitness room. As I talked about at the last meeting and also mentioned during the Personnel Committee meetings, if you're inclined to do this, a justification would be that employees that are still on our health program do contribute to the utilization, and a healthy employee, regardless if it's, I guess, a healthy person on our program, regardless if it's an employee or a retiree, a healthy person is good for the entire program. So that was if you're inclined to do this, that would be a justification to do it. But I guess the Mayor, I'll turn it back to you. It's up to the council on which way you'd like to go on this.
Sure. Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome.
Should we get a motion on the floor before we go into discussion?
Dan, back in 2014, why was it brought up that we either didn't allow it or we did? What happened there? What changed?
Well, as mentioned in the memo, there was a question on whether retirees should be part of the program, and we brought it before the, I don't know if it was the council or the personnel committee, but we brought it before certainly the council at some point, and the council at that point, the sitting council at that point decided to make the change that retirees should not be part of the of this particular benefit. So it can be changed back. It can stay the way it is. It's really a council decision.
But prior to 2014, it was that they were allowed to do it? Or was it just not, I mean, was it in the?
It was, right.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions before we put a motion on the floor for Dan? Okay, to further get through this.
I have a question.
Sure.
So the only people that are going to be able to do this are people that are on the city's health plan. If you're on the city's health plan, otherwise you're excluded.
That is correct.
If you're a retiree.
Pardon?
If you are a retired city employee, still on the
Still
health
on-
plan,
right.
so you're under the age of 65. And we had it before, and it mysteriously disappeared. And
It
I
doesn't
think-
cost us anything.
Yeah,
The facility's there.
We talked about that, and Mike said it's $260 a year. I mean, that's the rate that's charged, and it's a good thing if you keep the employees healthy, and you're going to keep your health insurance
Reduces our health costs
down, so
overall.
I'll make a motion, if no one else will, that we move ahead and put it back on.
And I second that. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion on the floor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Moving on to commission reports. Our first one is planning and zoning, and Aaron Herzog is going to lead the discussion regarding ordinance changes and bringing us up to date on what's happening.
Mayor, members of the City Council, my name is Aaron Herzog. I'm the chair of the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission voted to have me come here this evening and talk to you about specifically one of the agenda items we had last month. It was a very, very emotionally charged meeting. All sides had very valid points and issues that they brought up. And it became to a point to where the commission said that they wanted a moratorium on a specific item. It was a very narrow paintbrush. And how do we, did I just set it on here?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The item is commercial storage. The item is commercial storage buildings, storage unit rentals. It's zoned RR5, and there's numerous ones that come down through RR5. Consequently, after that meeting, I had a second meeting that was involved planning staff. Councilmember Nevins was there, and Brad Person was there, our city attorney as well. In conjunction with that, we talked about should there be a moratorium on them or should there not be. Basically, what it came down to, I could ask you to put a moratorium on. If you do that, then what happens is they can walk in to our planning department and they can have an over-the-counter permit issued saying it's for personal reasons. And I guess, don't ask me to explain that part, how that can happen. I don't understand it legally. But they can. So in the process of our discussion, it became pretty pointed that we're better off getting, if there is something commercial, put under a CUP and be brought forward where we can put conditions on it. We can address how large they are or small or whatever the case might be. A lot of different points can be put on it. So I guess, so you understand what the first original purpose for me being here was. Commission said a moratorium. In discussion with the other folks, I'm not so sure that that's the appropriate way to go. And I think now we need help from you guys, which way you folks want us to go. The CUP here process, the land use tables, there's a number of them. And under CUP, I guess I should start.
Hold it right there. There you go.
Yeah.
Sorry, what?
Yep, you're good, right there.
You're good.
You come down under what is allowed, the different standards, right, all through here, and what it means and so forth. RR5 means a rural residential district, 5-acre minimum lot size. So you understand what it is. When you come down under here, what can actually be approved under CUP for RR5, and you come down, I'm going to go to the last one on this page. Conditional use permit can be put in there for a shooting range, firearms, archery, and private type use in that area. If you come over, there was a couple I thought really interesting ones in there. Amusement park, I guess you could put in a great big amusement park and have that in there. The commercial storage, mining, gravel pits, etc. Second one from the bottom here, I think is particularly interesting. They can put in a racetrack, horse, auto, motorcycle, go-kart. Recycling collection site can go in there, and so forth. Sawmill, I thought that was particularly interesting, that a sawmill can end up under RR5. We need, what I'm here to request from you folks is that you go through this land use permit and you come back and submit to staff, is where I want it submitted to, so they can bring it before the Planning Commission and tell us what you do not agree with in the CUPs. Now, while you're at it, I'm going to ask you to look at all of them, not just, but specifically RR5, but I'm going to ask you to look at all of them and tell us if there's any that you disagree with, and just one sentence, I'm not asking for a long dissertation. Why? Because we're going to have to justify why we take it off. Understand this coming time, we are going to be addressing a huge commercial site on here at our next Planning Commission without a moratorium. There's going to be a large commercial storage buildings request that's going to come before us. I'm trying to remember the size. I heard the sizes, and I don't, do you, Dave, do you remember?
Well, I think the buildings were 300 feet long.
Yeah, two of them.
A couple of them. There's 9 buildings on a 15-acre site, I believe.
Something like that.
Aaron, do you have that aerial photo? Because I know some of you have been involved in this before and have seen some of the schematics on it. But this was done last week, and this gives you a better visual on the property at question.
I think to start with, this property right up here is the one that was approved this past month. Okay, that building is 156 feet long, and it is 60 feet wide, and with the amount of acreage that this person owns here, he can put 12 or 13 of those buildings on that site legally. That will cover actually less than 25%. If you put
And that is over-the-counter permit.
Yeah.
Right, but
Walk in.
it's my understanding that, so what you're saying is that if he doesn't go for a conditional use, he can get a regular permit to put up the buildings. But that permit will not allow him to conduct a business in a residential area. Is that right?
That's correct.
Correct.
So why?
He can go from us denying it at the Planning Commission, okay, which we have a right to do, walk straight across and say it's for personal use only, and he can build this right here with an over-the-counter permit. And that's where I'm
But the
So-
point is, his
And I think-
intention
I think
is-
Joel would support me on that, that that's where the confusion and the problem comes in.
So currently, we can legally allow a permit for conditional use in an RR5.
Yes, there's many different purposes for it, as you saw.
Okay.
And so, and many of them are very legitimate. I mean, I'd be the first one to stand up and argue for them.
But can I say something, Aaron?
Yes.
This particular one that we did last month, there's a lot of existing residential people who have bought their places and they're settling in there. And when they buy it, they look at the appearance of it and it looks good. And now all of a sudden you get a 9-building, very visible storage facility in there. That is well within the CUP of an R5.
Yeah, you've got
It changes
beautiful-
the neighborhood.
Nobody's going to buy for residential.
Well, it takes, I mean, you know, it's gonna scare the heck out of anybody coming in looking for a residential lot, because they don't know what they're getting, or what the future's gonna be.
I had a meeting this morning with Ted in Bolton and Mink, and we talked about the subject that probably nobody wants to talk about, but I think the council has to talk about it, and that's any potential expansions of the sewer plant. And in my mind, what Michael Connell said is we're short moderately priced housing here. You know, we have employees at the Public Works Group that can't live here. They have to drive from different cities. My thought was, talking to Ted, was the area that we're talking about here is relatively close to sewer lines and large vance areas that could be developed into some housing units.
I'm going to let the council continue to this discussion, but I know we put off under public forum anybody from the audience who wanted to make a comment.
Can I, one more thing before you do that, please, Mayor?
Absolutely.
Right here is a chart that John Kolstad put together. And this talks about the zoning district condition, and on down, if you get to RR5, there's 3,589 acres of land in Cross Lake that is zoned RR5. And then you can come down, you can see what public land is and water and that type of thing. But to go with what this whole request, and I think why it generates such an issue, is where do we put commercial if not in RR5? Where are you going to put it? You go to commercial, up there you got 121 acres, you got 446, and that's it, isn't it? 58 in downtown. Okay, 58 in downtown. I'm sorry, I missed that one.
So there's a need for residential housing, there's also a need for storage.
Well,
But
it's for commercial.
Well,
I think
yes,
we need to
let's-
kind of
Yeah.
clarify that part of
Differentiate
it.
the,
So, please understand, we're in a catch-22,
But,
sitting at
you know,
the
I
planning
think
commission.
on that, to what you were saying, the landowner that had land there, now all of a sudden he's got something next to him that he wasn't planning on having. That isn't exactly right.
Well, it's not, but it's hard to stop it from happening the way it's written right now. And we've struggled with it for quite a while. We've talked about it here briefly a few times, and it's not a problem, but it is a problem. And it may not be a problem to everybody in town, but when it's a problem to a few in town, it's a real problem.
And I don't have an answer or suggestion for you. I wish I did. But it's a very difficult, that last meeting was hard. This coming meeting is going to be, I think, worse.
So
This
with
coming
the
planning commission.
With this conditional use permit, what the Planning and Zoning Department, what they can do is they can put conditions on that. And they can put really tight conditions, a big setback, color of the building, screening. I mean, they can put all kinds of conditions on that might make them not want to do it, you know.
This one up here, we had 16, was it? 16 conditions we put on them? Yeah, approximately, please don't quote me on that number, but approximately 16 different items, which included large trees, it included setbacks, it included they couldn't conduct business other than in daylight hours. I mean, the conditions went
Well, and a big
long
condition on
ways.
that, Aaron, was they could only have one building on that 15-acre parcel.
Yeah, 18-acre parcel, one
or
building.
18, yeah.
That was
So,
one of the conditions.
Giving them the conditional use it kind of looked bad because we're always granting conditional use, we're always letting that stuff go. But it was able to control what happened on that piece. Now, there's a next piece that's coming next month that, we're educating them now, so we can't control it.
So I have a question. Right now, we said we have one building on this particular piece of property as it looks.
Correct.
But that doesn't preclude him from separating that piece of property into...
He can have 3 different parcels of land there.
Yeah.
And he could put an additional, and if he came in and said it was for private use, of course, keep in mind, each 5 acres is now going to be, 10,000 roughly per acre?
Yeah.
So,
10,000
go from there.
feet of
And the other 2
building per-
parcels, it'll be pole barn city.
Right. So when the toothpaste is out of the tube,
And I'm
it's a
not
little-
trying to say that they're bad
Right. structure.
I'm just saying that it could be. I don't believe that he would do that. I don't think that was his intent, and we will have to go from there.
Thank you. I'm going to go back to my previous comment because we withheld the comments under this particular topic for anybody in the audience who would like to say anything. Sure. Please come up to the podium and state your name and address.
Hello, my name is Clay Porter, and I live at 36430 County Road 3 on the property across the street from the new construction that's going in there.
Do you want to put that map back up, Aaron, please? Thank you.
Right. Yeah, that's oriented towards.
Up there.
So if this is going north on County Road 3 and the golf course is down this way. And this is the new house that was built on the west side of County Road 3 that John and his wife put up by hand with no idea that there would be any allowance of this sort. I live across the street. I have 15 acres. My wife and I had 2 little boys. We're looking forward to the new school, by the way. We'll buy some anonymous acres in the lake. But we're very concerned about this. My story is I lived in Atlanta, Georgia, had a law practice there for many years, and we had 2 little boys. I'm too old to have 2 little boys, but I do, and I decided we weren't going to raise them in the city, so we went looking. And we went looking all over the country, quite frankly, and we settled on this community. And we had a hard time finding a home. I know there are lots that you can buy that you could build a home. But we had a hard time finding a house that was not on the lake. We didn't want a house on the lake. We weren't looking for a vacation home. We were looking for a home in a community. And we bought this home, and we're making it into the home that we intend to live in for a long time and have our boys raised here and be part of this community and contribute to and do everything that a good neighbor should do. We had no idea that this community would allow commercial building near us. It's zoned residential. I looked at that. I'm not a zoning lawyer, but I looked at that. I realize that you can make exceptions, the conditional use, and I quite frankly think that you've gotten some bad legal advice on what conditional use is. My perception of the hearing that was held on this, there was a perception that somehow you needed to grant this unless certain things could be shown, and that's not at all the case under the law I read in Minnesota. But be that as it may, whether you're getting proper legal advice on that or not from the city attorney, and I would ask them to show you the cases on it. I'd love to see them. The real point here is for you, is for this council. And that's something that if you will express your general purpose of your comprehensive plan as to what you intend for that area of this town, then the issue's over. And that's what the Supreme Court of state of Minnesota says. And I've read the case, and I've read all the cases that cite the case. And that's good law. And I think that was missing at the zoning hearing that we had on I think the fellow that's doing this is a nice guy. I think he's going to do his best to be a good neighbor and all that. I think all those things are true. But if you allow this, the camel's nose is in the tent. And if you allow this, the nature and the feeling of that area of your community will change. And it has changed a little bit already. And it's for you to decide, do you want to have an access area to this town that is not commercial? You have a commercial access. There are lots for sale right now that would accommodate the boat storage or whatever kind of storage this is. They're on commercial lots. They're priced at commercial prices, not at residential prices. And so whatever advantage these people are seeking is to avoid making those purchases. There is not, at this moment, an absence of boat storage in the town of Cross Lake. I checked myself. I went and asked people, are you full up? I went to the owner of 66 Marina. I talked to other people that own facilities here in Cross Lake that are properly in the zoned areas for storage, and they are not full up. So this is about creating an advantage to somebody to make a purchase in a residential area that will absolutely destroy the home that John built by hand on every day for the last 2 years that he had no idea would place him in the midst of what appears to him to be an industrial area. It's not industrial, it's a storage area, but it looks that way. And the whole idea that an individual can put a pole barn on a private lot as a reason for even considering to allow this makes no sense at all. People don't do that. I mean, the city continues up County Road 3 for quite some ways. There's an entire community up there that comes down that road, and they don't want this. They want this town to have a place and access for people to go to build homes and have residences that are part of the full-time part of the community. I say that with no disparagement for people that are seasonal. That's obviously extremely vital to this community, but it is important that you have that access, and if you give this up by allowing that, then you will give it up. You will not get it back. It will be a great disappointment to me and to my family. And I would say to you this, that no matter what they're telling you, if you will say, as the council, that it is inconsistent with the general purpose of the comprehensive plan of the city of Cross Lake for there to be permitted storage facilities in this area of County Road 3, it will not be allowed by the Zoning and Planning Commission. And the idea that the Zoning and Planning Commission would say, well, gee, well, they might just do it and break the law is a ridiculous argument. It's a ridiculous argument. It should not be accepted. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Are there any other comments?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Joseph Christensen. I'm an attorney. I represent John Kyle. John is the party that has filed an application for the 9-building storage facility that you're talking about here. And a couple of things. The trees that you see depicted between the buildings and the road are not proposed to be removed. So the buildings will be screened, and Mr. Kyle is also planning on putting screening on the north end of the property between the buildings and the Carlson's home. And he's also willing to put screening along the west side of the property to screen it from the neighbors to the west. You do have an ordinance that allows conditional uses for various things that were already pointed out. And a conditional use is a use within a zone that is allowed, subject to conditions that are reasonably designed to buffer or mitigate the use that is allowed under the conditional use. So conditional uses are a permitted use within a zone, subject to conditions that are reasonably related to the use. So you can't just say no, and but you can assign appropriate conditions. Mr. Kyle already operates a storage facility in the city of Cross Lake, 103 Storage, which is down on the crossroad where Brenny Funeral Chapel is to the west of Highway 3 there, about a half a mile on the south side of 103. That facility is screened. It's been there for a number of years. It's very nice. I don't know if you've seen it, and you may not have seen it because it's very well screened, but it's a very nice looking facility. He runs a clean facility that is presentable. The buildings are presentable, and the lighting would be cutoff style lighting, so it would not be lighting that would go out. It would go down toward the ground, and he is willing to consider reasonable conditions to allow this. His application obviously is not before you tonight, but it is obviously the subject of the conversation. So Mr. Kyle asked me to come here tonight and speak to you about it. So we're willing to answer questions about it, but you know, it's a legitimate proposal, and he is someone in the city of Cross Lake already that is operating a business, and he wants to have another facility. And to address some of the comments about, well, there's boat storage available. Well, okay, I have a boat. I store my boats too, but these facilities are for more than boats. They're for individuals to store things that they want. And there's a demand for this. There is not adequate storage of this type in Cross Lake, or Mr. Kyle wouldn't even be doing this. And as I've said before, he's an operator of this kind of facility already and knows that there's a need for this. So this is something that's a genuine need. It's a legitimate proposal, and he expects to have a fair hearing on it. And we're available to answer questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Christensen. Are there any other comments relating to this issue?
Evening, Council. Mike Stone. I own Crosswoods Golf Course, just on the east side of County Road 3 there, just across the road from the 9 building complex that's being discussed. I have, you know, this north corridor of 3 has always been primarily residential. I feel badly for John, who's going to be surrounded by potentially two commercial developments on his site. But kind of going deeper and looking more into the future, I kind of looked through the, I think Mr. Herzog pointed out that there was 3,500 acres of rural residential 5 currently zoned in the community. But if you drill down a little bit and you look at what is vacant land or what is land that would be available for future neighborhoods, it's very sparse. I mean, these are some of the bigger parcels that are left available in the community. You know, what is the vision of Cross Lake? What do we want to be 10, 15, 20 years from now? Kind of opened my eyes a little bit when I volunteered to be on the school foundation board and where we wanted this community to go. And we got a great group of people all pulling on one end of the rope to go somewhere with some vision. Right now, I don't think the comp plan expresses the vision that Cross Lake really the direction that they want to go in. And I guess the question before you as a council is, what is that vision? What vision are you hearing from your constituents? Where do you want Cross Lake to go? Do we want to have residential housing for single families going forward? The new school that we're proposing is dependent on that growth. We need 1 to 2 families a year moving into this area, finding housing. Is this area just all about the lake homes and the seasonal residents and their ability to have toy boxes to store their toys? Or is it a balance? Is it, you know, I think as a community we can find that balance. We can find appropriately zoned, I mean, I applaud, you know, doing commercial in commercially zoned areas and carving out those areas and being creative. But this intermixing, I think it's just, right now it's oversimplified. We've got residential lakeshore and we've got 5-acre mixed use off the lake. And there's no vision. So that's my comments. And you know, I'm kind of screened, like they said, I'm screened from it personally, but I have a bigger vision for this community, and you know, I'd like to see that. I'd like to see you guys take that into consideration as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stone. Are there any other comments from the audience?
Mike O'Connell, 35411 Riverwood Court, Cross Lake. Kind of wear a lot of different hats in the community, and I won't apologize for volunteering or have an opinion, but I believe being a part of the community is being a part of that and standing up for exactly what Mike Stone said. I could read you what I put in, and I know that there is law that allows certain ways to get through this, but I believe that it is a bigger question about our vision for our year-round community and the balance, like Mike said, of residential and non-lakeshore homes with lakeshore homes. Are we going to be summer cabins and winter storage for all our goods? When you look at County Road 3 coming into town, is that what you want every corridor of County Road 3 coming in, northbound, southbound, County Road 6, looking like into our community? No residential development in the future. Probably not going to, this land has been vacant for so long, it might not happen in 5 years, 15 years, 50 years, or 100 years. But to have the hindsight to diminish the opportunity for residential growth at a healthy balance in our community is a big concern of mine as a citizen. Looking at the school, looking at the amenities of the balance of people coming off the lake and wanting to stay within their congregation, within their community groups, and not having to be, unfortunately, like you heard, moving back to the Twin Cities where we all left to be in this community. I'd love to see it have a balance that can support the people coming off the lake, have the assisted living, have the nurses that are 24 years old that are living in their parents' basement on Bonnie Lakes Road, can't find a rental or a condo or an apartment in our community. We're all here for the greater good of Cross Lake, and I believe that if this continues down that direction, down County Road 3 North, and the CUPs stay the way they are, we're doing a great disservice to the city of Cross Lake as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connell. Are there any other comments?
In the interest of public safety on that road, there's going to be an awful lot of traffic if this goes through, all the way back to the corner, because there's going to be a lot of people coming and going. And this isn't 9 people that's going to be coming and going, it's probably 50. I don't think the road can handle it. And nor should the residents have to put up with standing in line to go home.
Thank you. Mr. Christensen?
May I just respond to that, Mr. Hecox? This is accessed off of, is it Pine Bay Road? It's not on Highway 3. The access would not be. It's off the side road, and it's a storage facility. So the primary use of a storage facility is dormant. People bring things there and they leave them. So storage facilities are characterized by very low volume use. So you're not going to have the kind of traffic in and out of this facility that you would if, for example, it was a business, like a retail business or a motel or something like that. You wouldn't have regular traffic of that nature. Most people who rent storage units access them very infrequently.
How many units are you going to have there?
I don't know the total number of units. This is John Kahn.
Mr. Kyle, do you want to state your name and address, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
My name is John Kyle. Last name is Keil. We have a place on 14436 Rabbit Lane, so I drive by this piece of property every day. When I'm up here, I plan on retiring next year. Units, probably less than 200. Any other questions?
Any other questions for Mr. Kyle?
Oh, that's a lot of units.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the audience? I'll start this time with Brad Nelson. Brad, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I think I've got a good picture of it.
I have got comments. This has been come up many times. And what happens is, when it comes up, the few people that are affected by it get riled up by it. But they don't make enough noise to make a difference or a change. And you go in these little pockets around. I don't think anybody wants to get up in the morning, get their cup of coffee, look out their window, and look at the side of a big building. If they can go buy something and build it on the side of a big building, but I don't think when they're doing it, that's what they want to do. So somehow, we got to come up with another district for storage or something, and I don't know how we do it, because I don't think the city, does the city own a chunk of property that we could designate to that? We won't find the answer to it now, but it is a problem, and it keeps creeping up. The Planning Commission can't stop it, you know, and I don't know. Clay said that you can. They don't know how to stop it if they can. The only way they can do it is condition it and try to control it.
Thank you.
So it is a problem, and I think, you know, we need to listen to it.
Thank you. Mr. Schrepp?
Well, we've been asked to review the list, and I think we should do that. The question I have is, what do we do in the meantime? Because I know we're working on a new comprehensive plan. Is Dan still on the phone?
Yes.
And does anybody know when that'll get?
December, I heard.
Yes, the final approval will be in draft form the end of December, and it will be presented to the council for approval January of 2018. That's what it looks like currently.
So the question is, what do we do in the meantime while we're reviewing the list and the uses as we've been asked? Does that mean we stop?
I mean, what does a moratorium do? Does that shut everything down? Where's Brad? I mean, what does that do?
Well, just a couple, I mean, part of the I've heard lots of talk about, when there's been talk for a couple of years now about visioning and comp plans and, you know, future needs of the city. I guess what some talk that's come up in private staff meetings is it usually makes bad law when we try to react to a particular application and listen to the concerns of a small neighborhood and not think of the whole city. If you look at that list of conditional uses, there's a whole lot of things on there that are not residential, according to what I heard people tell me that have complained by phone call in the last couple of weeks. And so I just don't think it's good policy to react without looking at the big picture. You don't have to wait until the comp plan's done. I mean, you can change the zoning ordinance next month. But you could do hospitals, which I heard there's needs for assisted living and maybe a medical clinic. Those are both done traditionally in residential neighborhoods. Not always, but they often are. So are schools, so are golf courses. So there's a lot of things that usually are designated in residential zones. Would that be a problem there? I don't know, but we can't, you shouldn't be doing moratoriums with one little slice of the puzzle, is my suggestion. I'm not saying for or against what's being proposed. It's just the arguments against it apply to much of your zoning ordinance. And you looked at the list, there's very little commercial available. And so nobody wants what's being proposed next to their house. That's no matter what it would be. And that's anywhere in this country. So, and I wouldn't if I was there. I'm not for or against it again. It's just, again, I'm just encouraging you to try to look at the list. It was done a couple years ago. There's many people had the perception that only single-family housing could happen in RR5. And Aaron tried to show you there was a list of 20 things maybe that, well, I don't know what,
It'd be
everyone's
easier
probably got
to
to
write the things that you wouldn't allow.
Well, and
There'd be
everyone has
fewer.
a different vision, I think, of what's residential. I don't know, everyone's got their own, you know, that's what this, you know, commission and council and,
Now, when was, we had different zones, like at least 2 years ago, residential zoning. When did all of the residential get put into R5, rural residential 5?
2014.
2014.
So
So
3 years
prior to
ago.
that, we did have some.
This particular zone was R1 prior, which was residential only. But,
Okay.
pardon?
That sounds like a valid point.
Well,
Okay, and
I
so
just-
so how long has that particular land use table been in effect? Did that become?
2014.
2014.
March, I want to say March of 2014.
So relatively recent.
3 years.
Okay. That was just for my own
Yeah.
information, thank you. Gary, do you have any comments? Questions for anyone?
I don't know how you stop it, that's all.
I got to mention one statement that I think is true about this particular piece of property is I think the guy has got a purchase agreement on it. He hasn't bought the property yet until he gets his permit. Whatever that's worth, you know. I would hope that after listening to this, he might look for another piece of property, but that's one valid thing. And there is another one. On the wooded portion of the property between the storage facility and Highway 3, I think there's a 5-acre chunk cut out of there for a residential lot, building house, which would clear some of the trees out. It would be a yard, and it would be, just so, I mean, that's part of what this is. I think it should be noted.
So from my perspective, what I think I've heard tonight, you know, the facts are on the table that we are in the middle of a comprehensive rewrite. We've heard a lot this past year on where we want to take this city. And we need to be reminded that decisions that were made 2 years, 5 years, 10 years come back. Some of them good, some of them not so good. And that the decisions we make tonight will also affect how we look as a community and as a city going forward in 5, 10, 15 years. And the most recent ones, to me, that are obvious of what I just call bad planning is the new Dollar General that's going on, in my opinion, a beautiful piece of land that has historical value in Cross Lake, and now it is going to be a retail, apparently, building with really no up-north appeal or character that the city has outlined even prior to the last 2008 comprehensive plan. We have another beautiful piece, historical piece of property that sits behind Andy's. What is that going to look like? And so what I've heard tonight is that we are in the middle of a comprehensive plan. People have been talking about our vision for the future and what we look like. We have heard that it would be good for the council to give the Planning Commission their ideas on the land use tables, to let us know what they wanted. We have heard that, you know, we are in the middle of potential sewer expansion. What does that look like for the city? What does that look like for the sanitary district that we're going to have to take a good look at? And so when I look at this, there is a lot of decisions that will affect the city based on this particular property, no matter how many people have spoken up for it or spoken against it. And to me, it looks like we have to do a little deeper dive into the analysis of where we want to take this issue that we are being confronted with and look at the economic impact that it's going to have on our community. Those are my comments.
What vehicle do we drive there?
And how do we get there?
Yeah.
Well, Brad, I know that moratorium is probably too harsh a word for us here tonight. What does tabling something like this do? And I need your input here because I'm not exactly sure where we would go with this.
I think the Planning and Zoning Commission during the hearing can put some conditions on that thing that, I don't know, Brad. I mean, is that the most that we can do at this point?
Well, one thing the Planning Commission probably is looking for direction on, I mean, there's more going on than just this one application.
Yes.
So is it really just this one application, or is it, I've heard talk of needing all this affordable housing, and there could be 20 other applications for all those other conditional uses in the city of Cross Lake. I mean, I don't know what, it probably depends who you ask in terms of what people want, but is this something we want to rush and not wait until December possibly, and look at the whole zoning map, look at what's available for development? The Planning Commission wants some direction. This is part council, part Planning and Zoning Commission.
And I think that's really a good point that you bring up, Brad, because this is an issue that does not have to wait until December 18th. This could be, we could take a look at this, and this could be included into the comprehensive plan that's being developed. So it could be like a 2-month or a 3-month or, whatever timeline we would put on this. On this, and whatever this looks like, I'm not exactly sure at this point. Dan, do you have any comments? Dan Vogt?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Do you have any comments? Hey.
No, I don't think so at this time. I've been listening in on it, and all great comments from both sides. I think it's something you've got to, take a look at very carefully.
Okay, thank you. So
are we going to go through the list as Aaron requested and get back to him within?
Well, and if we did that, how soon could they change? I mean,
or should we have a workshop to talk through it?
But regardless, I mean, maybe Chris, could you answer that, or Aaron?
And actually, we will let them come up. And Shar, did you have a comment that you wanted to make?
I did. I just wanted to put the fact out there that the last comprehensive plan was done about 17 years ago. It wasn't actually approved and adopted until 2008. But in that document, it is stated that the County Road 3 corridor would be used for future commercial.
Or could be used, may be used, I think.
Right, that was the vision at that time.
17 years ago.
And that's why it's so important to update the comp plan more than once every 20 years, because the vision changes. And I encourage everyone in this room who is passionate about this to come to those comp plan meetings and the comp plan public hearings that will be held this year.
Thank you.
I would also encourage many of you to come to the Planning Commission meeting on the 28th?
7th?
7th? No, the 28th, I think, is 27th is drive around. But I would encourage many as you want to come to that meeting.
April 28th at
April
9
28th.
a.m.,
9 a.m.
correct? Okay.
I guess, we were looking at doing a lot of work at that meeting, the 28th, on ordinance changes, and that would be one of them that we would do. When this change took place in 2014, it was stated very clearly by the then sitting council that said, this is going to be a working document, a moving document. We will adjust, change it as needs come up and show. And I think we've now shown that there is time for some changes to take place. So I agree with Brett. Don't rush into it. Don't get into it too deep, too fast, because we'll end up with a similar product. Okay? Anything else? Any other questions for me? If not, I'll thank you for your time.
Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, I don't know what we could, I don't think we can really do anything tonight other than look at it, review it.
Right. I don't think we leave it open-ended,
Right.
because nothing will happen if we do that, so.
May I add a comment?
Sure.
Again?
Mr. Christensen?
Following on some of the comments that the city attorney made, doing an isolated thing. Actually, in Minnesota, it's illegal to adopt a moratorium to stop a specific project. And I think from the conversation so far tonight, that's what you're considering doing. So I would encourage you not to do that. Thank you.
I just want to encourage you, Bob Perkins, 35333 County Road 37. Cross Lake's changed quite a bit, and we've talked a lot in the last year about charting our future, charting a course for our future. Think about the buildings and things that have transpired in this community. I bought a piece of property looking at a game refuge. Never knew a church was going to build across the street. I hope I don't get hit by lightning tonight. But, there's a lot of traffic that produces, coming out of that church. But, it's part of being here. I want to be part of the solution. I want to look at where we build in the future, what we do with our land use, our water quality, and all of those things. So don't just look at it for this storage park. Look at the entire city. Someone said don't do things too fast. 17 years to do a comp plan. I'm a little embarrassed just hearing that. So, we talked the other day about doing a comp plan and reviewing it every year, keeping it fresh, keeping up with things. What's going on here? Why is it changing? Why should we be involved? So if you're going to do this just because of a storage park coming in, shame on you for considering it for that one single thing. Think about the entire city, how we're growing. It's going to grow here. We choose our path, or it chooses us. Thanks.
May I?
Mr. Porter?
Thank you. I just want to say that clearly we're about to have a comprehensive plan. And that comprehensive plan will take into account a lot of the things that we've expressed. I wouldn't be here if there was a commercial development on that side of County Road 3. Just would have gone somewhere. I was about to go somewhere else to begin with. And it's not that you need me, but I think you ought to consider the value of having residential availability that's within walking distance of the center of town. And you're about to give that up, and the easy solution, the one that's right in front of us here, is not to do a spot moratorium, where I would call this spot zoning if you allowed it, the conditional use, but to do a moratorium that applies to the R5. And it's a short period of time, and it gives you the ability to then do your comprehensive plan. You can make the decision then whether you want this sort of thing to happen or not. But I believe that you will make a decision that will affect, and it will be binding on the Planning and Zoning Committee. There will no longer be, so much of the talk tonight has been as though the fact that someone may apply for a conditional use gives them the right to it, and that is not true. It's an application. I think the Planning and Zoning Committee has that perception. I think they have it incorrectly. But whether that's true or not, to allow this sort of major development to occur when you're on the precipice of a comprehensive plan makes no sense at all. Let that plan occur. Do the moratorium, and then make your decision. Thank you.
Brad, if there's an application already been put to the planning and zoning, does that, you can't, even if we did a moratorium now, under what I know, it wouldn't affect that application because it's already across the counter. Is that true or not?
Well, it's definitely better planning to do it before an application. And again, as some comments were made, it definitely should be more than just one full building application. It needs to be a look at the entire zoning district, and the fact that, again, in that zoning district, and before 2014, by the way, many commercial, in quotes, uses were allowed in that zone. So what is it about this application or pool buildings that bugs you? Or if it does bug you, I don't know if it does. I mean, we got to figure out, is it the traffic? Is it we've heard comments about, is this traffic intense or not? Is it the look of it? Is it, because there's a lot of other, what is it? I haven't heard that been pinned down by anyone. So it needs to be a broader discussion than just, this is something a couple neighbors, and I'm not trying to minimize all the neighbors, I would guess, I don't know. I mean, I'm not minimizing that, but there's, that region of the city doesn't want it for this one application. That's not how zoning law should be made. Zoning law should be made citywide, region-wide, looking at all uses, not just a pole building application or storage complex. That's all I'm suggesting. And that right now, there's a lot of uses in there that aren't, you know, other than that. So if we do this, someone could put a church in there, assisted living. Is that okay or not? Well, that's what comp plans and zoning review is for. I mean, I don't know the answer to that until you all have that. That's a policy decision. There's not a right answer. It's whatever, whatever you guys agree on.
Chris, do you have any words of wisdom on this thing?
David Evan, by the way, is the liaison to the
Planning and Zoning.
Planning and Zoning Commission, so.
Yeah, Chris Pence with Planning and Zoning. You know, I know this has been contentious, and there's been some, you know, issues and concerns with it, so I think it boils down to, again, you guys looking at that list of, on that list and deciding what you don't want to be in that district, and that's a simple fix to make. The question is, before you tonight, is there something that can be done for what the current application that's on the table now? And, you know, I don't get, I haven't been involved in moratorium before, so I've never seen one invoked in the years that I've been doing planning and zoning, which has been a little while. And so I would rely on Brad and his expertise on what moratoriums are allowed and you know, under what. My understanding is that it can't be based on one simple thing. It has to be of a broader use. So I mean, if you were, maybe you would look at saying we want to, you know, have a moratorium on all conditional uses, any commercial use in the RR5, and then you would set a time frame. But again, I would rely on Brad and his expertise in that area. He's got more experience in that than I do. So,
Just one other point that I probably should have brought up and I have not yet, but you know, maybe this is obvious, but I never know what's obvious and what's not. So we saw that picture on the screen earlier of the alignment and location of those buildings. That's just a proposal right now. The whole, by definition, conditional uses, we can totally change how that looks with number of buildings, size of buildings, access points, where the screening is or where it's not, what can be done, where the trees are, this 5-acre carve-out that Dave met. It's all to be determined. With a conditional use, you can review every single point, the color, the type of siding, the height,
Correct.
anything you can dream up, we can put into condition as long as it relates to, you know, how this site can be more compatible with the adjacent land uses, which is the whole idea why we make it a CUP, not a permitted use. A permitted use is you just go build it. We can't do all those conditions. That's the whole idea here, is we can allow the commission to hear testimony and concerns from the neighbors and try to help fix that. Like in the last one on the north side of Mr. Carlson's property, they put it as far away as possible from the house. There's some screening that was done. I didn't see all the conditions, but the idea of that is to make it fit in better with the property to the south or all directions, not just that one. So that is just a site plan right now. It's not reality. I want to make sure that's obvious too.
I think at this point, that's what the commission can do, is condition it.
So what I'm hearing is that we, based on that, an application has been made. We probably need to get that to planning and zoning. I mean, that the natural progression of that is to get it to planning and zoning meeting the end of April. But in the meantime, we also have to decide what we are going to do as a community and as a city council representing the community on the RR5s, and how that relates to any sewer projects that go forward. We've also heard that Mr. Herzog would like from the council their opinions on the land use tables. And was there anything else?
No, I think that, what is the time frame? If we go through and we have a little meeting and we come up with some land use, restriction, what's the time frame
Yeah, Chris
on
can
that?
tell you exactly how long it would take to get a zoning ordinance amendment through.
Right, it basically requires a public hearing before the planning commission and then final review and approval by the council.
And how much time do you post for that public hearing? Is it 10 days or something, or?
We gotta post it, it's 10 days, we have to post a 10-day notice for that, and then you guys, we have to publish the meeting, we have to publish that meeting, and then publish the city council meeting upon which it would be effective.
So the other thing is that when we talk about the sewer project that's coming up, that may be more than just a quick turnaround for, a change in the zoning. And so that goes back to our comprehensive plan that we are in the, process,
Right.
in the process of updating. So does it make sense to put a time limit on that, so that we have some time to really dig into this and be a little bit more analytical about it?
Well, or we could just kind of shoot from the hip and do something and then change it later on, too. It can be,
Well,
it can be
I
a
don't-
work in motion.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like this application has been made, so that's going to go to the Planning and Zoning Commission in April. I mean,
Yeah.
that's, but all of the other things that we've been talking tonight about has to have a little bit deeper discussion on and some more planning on how we want that to fit into the comprehensive plan. And so maybe we say, we're going to do that in the next 6 months. And if it takes us less time, great.
So do we not allow any CUPs for everything beyond the current applicant?
A moratorium, in other words.
So I don't know of any other ones other than the one I've been told about tonight, but we're going to take some time.
Well, you have a lot of discretion to do a lot of things. I guess staff's worry was, we had this application, but we want to react to it because some of the neighbors say there should be just single family, or some design work has been done, and that's the vision. But what if somebody applies for assisted living the next day and a convenience store the next? Are we going to start doing moratoriums every week? I think we need to have more direction. What exactly do you want in RR5? And the staff tried to show you, be careful, because there's not a whole lot of land in the other districts. So maybe we need more zoning districts. Do we need to get more commercial in this area, commercial zoning, I mean, if we're not going to allow anything in RR5 other than single-family housing? You're not going to be able to allow any other development in town. It's not that simple, and doing it by reacting to each application that comes in the door is definitely the wrong way to do it.
Yeah, right.
The right way is hard, but that's the wrong way. I can tell you that.
Well, I would just tell you that there's a lot of ways, I mean, we can change zoning districts and, and so we don't have to be stuck with an RR5, we can change to an R1, we can do that. I just would say when we came in here originally back in 2013-14, we made the changes, the message from you guys was, big lots. We want 5-acre lots. We don't want little lots because, this is what we want. Now, it's amazing how things change after a couple of years. So we just need to roll with that and make those changes. And so those changes are makeable. They're not difficult.
And so that's what I'm hearing you saying. I mean,
In just a month, you could do a lot of change, as long as
We have
there's...
to identify the areas, and I don't think one residential class is adequate. I think we need to look at what we had before.
Yeah, we had, 4, 5, counting Shoreland before, and I think that might have been a little.
And my big issue with it.
Yeah.
But there are changes. I'm not sure you'd want to be making those changes within a month. To
Right,
change
that's what
zoning
I was
districts.
gonna
That
say.
seems a little, maybe a little
Right.
extreme, a little bit quick.
Yeah.
So I think those take time, and comprehensive plan will inform those decisions and that. So.
Right.
But to slow down or to stop anything else like this happening, I think you would, the only avenue I see is to do some sort of a moratorium to not allow any other, outside of this application, commercial applications in the RR5 for
On the
a set
RR5.
timeframe. That's all that I see as an option, I guess, at this point, so.
That's not correct. You can do the moratorium as long as the hearing hasn't occurred, it applies to this application. That's just not right. So you can do this. And you should do
Okay,
it.
Mr. Porter, do you want to come up and,
Well, I've said everything. Thank you.
okay.
Unless you have a question.
No, I wanted to make sure that the audience heard that and that you were on recorded.
The statement that was just made is incorrect. If you do the moratorium, it will apply to this application so long as you do it before the hearing. And that's what you should do, because you're about to consider the overall effect that will include all of this area, and so that's what should happen. It's a short amount of time, and it would solve all these problems. Thank you.
Brad, do you want to comment on that?
Well, I haven't stated that, at least I don't think I did, that you can't do a moratorium, whether it's on all applications current and pending, or just future, or don't do it at all, just look at your ordinance. The staff just needs direction on exactly what are you trying to accomplish. And I don't think it's as, my only comment was, from my read of the situation and based on the comments I've heard, it's a lot bigger issue than pole barn storage. I mean, there's more to it.
Right, so wouldn't that consider part of, if we did ask for a moratorium, that we certainly could put in a lot of the discussion points that we raised tonight on why it is a really good idea to do that?
You definitely can do a moratorium. I mean, no CUPs and R5 means no commercial development this summer, so that's a big deal. We're going to lose a building season for whoever's out there trying to develop. Again, I have no personal opinion what's good or bad. I'm just making sure you hear that.
Does that moratorium, Brad, apply to the current application?
No, it can, it cannot. That's a policy decision, whether you want it to or not.
Could a moratorium be as short as 30 days?
Well, the whole idea of a moratorium is you need, by the time the moratorium ends, you have to have a new plan in place.
Right.
Otherwise, it didn't accomplish anything.
Right.
60 days or whatever that is.
So however long you think you need to, we got a plan now, what's the new plan? And in the meantime, no development of that kind can happen, which is not.
In
again,
our R5s.
Well, however you frame it.
So in other words, that could affect the school permit probably, huh?
Any permit. I mean, we don't know what's out there or what's coming this summer, I don't know. But this is the building season in Cross Lake, obviously.
Okay, not affect the school? Okay. Okay.
I don't know, it's a tough deal.
I have a comment. One interesting point is, and this is not in favor of storage buildings or, I mean, this is just a comment. Everybody keeps talking about affordable housing. Everybody keeps talking about all this need. Then why hasn't a developer? Now, this gentleman did his research, and he seems to feel comfortable to put his money into a storage facility.
Not houses.
Not houses. Now, we all keep talking about affordable housing. First of all, you got 5-acre lots out there, so what, you're going to build 4 or 5 houses? Well, we're not running city septic out there for 4 or 5 houses. So if you want that, you got to change something else.
That's
this goes
right.
back to the foresight that Bob Perkins talked about. I mean, there's already some inherent problems. You look at those lots, so, okay, now with our current rule, you turn that into residential, oh, great, so you gain 4 or 5 houses out there, right, on 5-acre lots, so I doubt they're going to be very affordable. Convenience stores, well, that kind of tends to go into residential areas like convenience stores because that's hence the term convenient, they're nearby. I mean, there's and we all saw that list, so I'm not going to, but we all keep talking about affordable housing and apartments and all this stuff, but yet there's not one darn developer that's walked into this town that says, you know what, I'm going to put down $1 million of my money, buy a property, and build a 25 apartment complex. So where everybody gets their idea, I understand. I mean, I've got employees living in Emily and Breezy and Nisswa. I mean, I understand, but if you've ever been to Vail, there's not affordable housing. If you've ever been to Aspen, there's not affordable housing. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. Maybe it can with the proper planning. Not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just throwing that idea out there. Haven't seen one person want to put their money into that, have you? Danny Millers of the world that have storage deals and all kinds of different, I'm just using Dan as an example of a guy that's pretty sharp with buying real estate and filling a need to make a buck. But have you seen anybody of those? Have any of them dropped into planning and zoning lately and said, hey, I want to do that apartment complex, I want to break that property up and I want to build 25, single-family homes if I want to? No, haven't seen that.
Well, it's out there. It's hovering.
But I'm just saying the market drives these things, and you can give me all the excuses you want in the world, one way or the other. I was just making a comment in general that I haven't seen it, and I don't see people driving their way into town here fighting over the real estate to build apartments or single-family homes.
Thank you, Brad.
I mean, you can plan all you want, but, the old lead the horse to water theory and whatever, so I think it's a great idea, and I can see where that's a perfect spot for it, But, I'm just curious why, if this is such a great idea, how come nobody's done it?
Ms. Hegerston?
Only you, Brad, can get me to public speak.
Name and address, please.
I'm Leah. My heart's pounding. I am at 35533 Sandpoint Drive. And I just wanted to say that I did submit an application on behalf of Crossroads Development for an apartment. And I resubmitted now, and I have my first dirt meeting on a 32 apartment on one lot, conditional use. Is going for a variance for height, density for 32 for the apartment building, plus townhomes, 8 townhomes, and conditional use permit to rent, and then have the townhomes for purchase, and have my meeting tomorrow with these guys. And I've learned a lot over the last couple weeks from comments, Dave, and the planning and zoning, Gary I've had, Matt Cooker was helpful. All the guys, Aaron and everybody, Chris Pence, and taught me a lot over the last couple of months on how to do this the right way. And since I've put in that application, we have 2 more developers that actually want to take it, one on our property in particular, and another, which is D.W. Jones, and another one that's looking at another property that Mike's shown him, which is Babinski. And all 3 developers want to do this the right way. They want to do it in keeping with the up north feel, in keeping with Town Square, if it goes in Town Square. Dormers, nice roofs, 3, 2, 1 studios, underground parking, all very nice. The variety of rents to fit a variety of needs. So, thank you.
So it's coming.
So thank
Yeah,
you.
I mean, I'm very happy to hear that. Like I said, I wasn't trying to speak for or against anything. I always wonder, because free market economy drives development. And, so this is the first I've heard, and I think it's great. I think it's needed. I agree with all of what Leah said, but until right now, I didn't realize that, because I've, lived here my whole life, and
she wasn't quite done.
Yeah, this isn't the first time this has ever come up, understand? This has been talked about for many, many years, but the years keep rolling by and nobody has done anything, so I just kind of always
I know.
wondered why.
Mike O'Connell has led our housing community work group and done a really nice job, and a lot of this has come out of that. And he did mention the builders at the beginning in open forum, and we wanted you to know first that this stuff is coming. And I did want to say that Matt Cooker did suggest we order housing studies, and those have been completed. I got them over the weekend, so we do have support.
Good.
Thank you. Mr. Stone?
So all valid points, Brad, that you make about the free market taking hold. But I think it's your duty as civic leaders to balance that and to look into the future and also protect certain parts of development from wholly being taken over. Because maybe right now, off-lake residential isn't, the flavor of the month. And storage buildings are the flavor of the month right now. But what happens when we get this school built and we get new teachers in here and we get new families looking at Cross Lake in a different light? Then, maybe 5, 10 years from now, residential off-lake lots will be much more in vogue or much more in demand. But what happens when Cross Lake has nothing to offer that? So that's, it just needs, our civic leaders need to look at the big picture and not just be swayed by what the current market is driving and keep things in balance. So that's just all I had to say.
Any other questions from the council? Any other questions or comments from the audience?
My opinion is we should review the list, let the commission deal with the pending application. And I think, at least from what I'm seeing here, the issue that some of the residents had is that the site that's been approved is actually a business running in a residential area. The other site, I think, is probably going to be individually owned storage units. Is that what I'm hearing? I don't know.
No, it's rental.
Oh, it is rental. Okay, so it's going to be similar.
Yeah, it's either that or somebody do the moratorium.
I move that we place a moratorium on CUPs in rural residential 5 until we have had a chance to review the land use tables, to complete an analysis and an economic impact study on our current zoning structures, and to look at how this fits into the sewer expansion that would include a citywide plan, and how this fits into the comprehensive plan as we move into the future. Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
Just a point, if there is 3 votes for that motion, I'd recommend that we call a special meeting between now and the planning and zoning meeting and get a bit more organized about exactly how long and what exact things you want to restrict.
Yes,
We have time for that.
yes, thank
So
you.
go through the list and come up with a list.
Well,
at least
get
an
it as-
initial one.
Again, we want to be as broad as you want to be, which I haven't heard that discuss, we may need time to flesh that out, but also keep allowing as much development as we can to not further restrict, so there's a balancing act there. And if that, and I don't know if that is, we haven't voted on it yet, but that's my only comment. If there is a vote for it, I'd recommend that we give ourselves as much time as we can before the P&Z meeting to get organized.
Good point, thank you, Brad. Chris, did you have a comment?
Does that include this application currently before us or not?
I assume that's what you intended, but...
I moved that it would include the current application, yes.
Just for clarification.
Thank you.
And would the second also, is that the second, was that the intent of your second?
Yes.
Or,
Yeah,
sorry, was your
that's
second?
what I understood. Yeah.
Okay.
And any further discussion before we call for a vote?
Well, and
Go ahead.
do you both, again, before there's a vote on it, please discuss all you'd like. I mean,
Yes,
I don't want to be
please.
involved in the discussion,
Agree
but
with your comments.
to the
yeah.
extent that's the motion in the second, do you agree with that special meeting concept as part of that vote?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And then when is as soon as possible?
Well, it's up to the council to set a meeting, maybe early next week or something, I don't know. I mean, that's up to you to set a
I
time.
think that Brad should be at that meeting, and possibly John or Chris. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Any further discussion on the motion on the table? And Shar, do you want to read that back?
I will play it back for you when we are done recording.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was quite lengthy.
Okay, sounds good. All those in favor of the motion on the table signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Jump
Motion
in and go
carried.
for it.
Now you have to set a meeting.
Now we have to set a
When are we
meeting.
going to meet?
Do we set that special council meeting tonight, Shar?
Oh, ideally, we would, it's a public meeting, let's announce the meeting whenever it's going to be right now.
Okay. What does
Friday look like?
Friday look like?
Friday afternoon. Oh, it is Good Friday, isn't it?
The 14th.
Well, that's Good Friday.
Friday, so I'm not sure that's a good.
How about the 17th?
I won't be here, but then I'm going to be out all that week.
You made the motion. We better do it this Thursday then.
How about Thursday?
Yeah, I can do it on Thursday,
The 13th?
the
13th.
the 13th.
And who are you going to have in this meeting?
We're going to have, the council is going to be included, Brad Person, our attorney, would be included, the planning and zoning commission members would be included, and our Chris Pence and
John.
his team.
So again, what the planning and zoning meeting is not until the 28th or something like that? So that's, again, you could do it the 27th is what I'm getting at, or 26th or 25th,
Yeah,
not
we
in
don't
time
have
to
to rush
post.
that quick, right.
The more time you can give yourself to get organized, the
Right,
better, not
right.
Thursday. I don't know when people are around, but
You're back
Wednesday
the
the-
27th, Ken?
I am back I will be back on the 27th. Do we want to hold it on the 27th? How does that fit in everybody's schedule?
Make it work.
Well, the
You can make it work?
27th, that's
You
the
can make it work,
onsite.
so-
Thank
That's
you.
Thursday, right? The
What time,
onsite day.
what time? We do an on-site in the morning, but we, back by 10? 10:30. You could do something, do we want to do an afternoon?
How about 1 o'clock
1
on the
o'clock?
27th?
1 o'clock?
I can't be here at that time, but I could
What
give
time can you be
guidance.
here, Brad?
Real late afternoon or evening.
Yeah, but it's 5.
I could give a memo, though, and
Gary,
provide
let's do it
input
at
to
night
staff. I
after
mean,
your-
I...
Is that okay, Brad?
5 o'clock?
5 o'clock
5
on the
o'clock?
27th?
Can you make that, Brad?
All right.
Okay. 5 PM on the 27th,
Okay.
and for a special council meeting?
If that's a consensus, it'd be good to have a motion on that to
Okay.
hold that meeting.
I move that we hold a special council meeting relating to the aforementioned motion on April 27th at 5 PM.
I'll second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved.
Oh, boy, huh?
Okay, moving on. Wow. Was there anything else, Gary?
This is covering more than one basis, I mean, more than one person.
There,
Right.
yes.
Sure
Yes,
everybody
and so
knows that.
included in that special meeting is the council, Planning and Zoning Commission, Brad Persons, our attorney, the Planning and Zoning representatives from the county. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Okay, next on our agenda is public safety, and Bob Hartman, you are up.
Thank you, Mayor,
And
Council.
our-
I've got a memo in with your packet tonight in reference to purchasing a squad car. I'll just read through it quick like here. On 3/28/16, I took my squad, which is a 2008 Ford Expedition, down to Napa for an oil change. I let them know that at high speed, I was feeling an extreme vibration in the vehicle. Their subsequent maintenance check revealed that it needs rear struts, front brakes, front right axle seal, rear pinion seal at a cost of $1,600. Also, and I'm not going to read the whole thing. Also, I'm having some issues with the transmission. This squad is up for being replaced in January. Normally, I order the squad about October after we get done with our budget process and stuff. Right now, I have the money available, most of the money available right now to purchase the new squad. It'll put my budget, over by the squad, the cost of the squad, which is about $26,000. That's the base price for the squad, so it'll be a little bit more than that. But that's what I'll be over budget for this year, but then next year we will not be ordering a new squad.
So it's 26,000 plus 10 grand for the wiring or something of it? I mean, is that?
No, all the wiring and all the equipment that's going in the squad, I have the equipment reserve account for that, and I also have, go ahead.
So what Bob is really doing is he's just advancing the purchase of next year's squad, the 2018 squad. So for budgeting purposes, he'll be over budget by the total cost of the squad because it's not in the budget as an expense. As far as the cash goes, we have the cash available to pay for it.
Yep.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying.
So what Bob is asking for is to buy the squad just a little bit early, pay for it this year. We'll budget another squad next year and not buy it. So we'll be back on track with as far as the cash goes for
You won't get to drive it.
Perfect.
getting the next squad.
Will you get to drive it? Will you get to drive it this year?
Okay.
He can look at
Is there a motion on the floor for an early purchase of a squad car?
I make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
We need to remember that we did that this year so that we don't get another one next year.
That's correct. All those in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Yes, thank you. Okay, Public Works.
Good evening, Council. Good evening, Mayor.
Hi, Ted.
Before you, I have one thing tonight, and I believe Dave Reeves is going to come up and go through his memo to you.
Evening, Mayor, City Council. The City Council had requested that the 2017 projects for street improvements be put out for bid. We did open bids on April 6th, and there were 4 bids received from various contractors. The bids ranged from approximately close to $530,000 up to around $675,000. And the low bidder is DeChantel Excavating of Brainerd. We found the bids to be conforming to the plans and specs and the bidding requirements. However, at this time, we're still working through our right-of-way work between the city attorney and WSN. And so we're asking that the council just wait on awarding that for the time being. We can hold bids for 60 days, and there's no real urgent reason to award at the moment.
Okay.
Any
So
questions?
you do not need a motion tonight from the council, is
That's
that
correct.
correct? Okay, thank you. Any questions for Dave?
So
Mr.
who's
Reese?
this low bidder here?
The low bidder is DeChantel Excavating from Brainerd. They've done road projects around the Cross Lake, Brainerd Lakes area over the past 10, 20 years.
By law, do we have to take the lowest bidder?
No, but the lowest responsible bidder. So you would need findings that they're not equipped for the job, basically.
I just have never heard of them, and I was not real happy with Tri-City's job at Andy's down there.
Well, I personally, and I'm sure Dave, they're around, they've been around, they're not a bit player. I mean, I can't guarantee great workmanship or something, but they've done a lot of projects in the area.
Good. Any other questions for Mr. Reese?
It looks like the bid's quite a bit less than what we had on the budget.
Right, it was very good value for the city, very competitive bidding. Blacktop prices were ranged from $9 to $13 less than what we had seen in the last year or two, so on a price per ton basis.
I looked up we had $742,000 in to do those roads, and it came in at $527, so it's over $200,000 less, which is really nice.
Our estimate after completing plans and specs and putting it out on the street was just under $700,000.
And they buy their asphalt from Anderson Brothers?
I don't know who they get it from.
Most likely, they don't have an asphalt
have
plant
an asphalt
of
plant.
their own, so it will likely be Tri-City or Anderson.
Or Anderson.
So they need, I make a motion, we,
I thought we were going to
Oh,
wait
yeah,
on the
we
motion.
don't need,
don't have to wait.
right, we don't need this motion tonight.
Until we straighten out a
Yeah.
few of those easements.
Okay, so that motion will be tabled. Thank you.
Mrs. Mayor, I have one more thing. We were going to, Mike Reardon and ourselves were going to ask the council for time to talk to you about future needs. Where does the council want Public Works to go? Do you want us to be working on roads next? Do you want us to be working on sewer? But seeing the time is getting so late tonight, and I'm just going to take a step back and let you guys finish up your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure we'll be calling on you in the near future.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, Park and Rec, is John here?
John, we left you 32 seconds. Just kidding.
Just entertain a motion to approve what I'm proposing tonight, and I'll go back and sit down. How's that sound? All right. I just had some updates, 2 updates only tonight for you. Just, we're trying to get a new group going, a Bunko Club at the community center that meets Monday afternoons from 1 to 3:30. And a reminder that we've got another AAA class coming up. It's a refresher. Actually, it's a class for new students on May 10th and 11th from 9 to 1. So if you need the refresher course. We've got one coming up in June. But if you're new to this discount program and you'd like to get involved with that, you can contact the Community Center for AAA's number. So tonight, we want to talk about South Bay Park. We've had some interesting developments in the last couple of months. Many of you are aware of this public park that we have had since the mid-'80s that we lease from the Corps of Engineers, and we have leased through 2036. It is located off 103, and then you turn on Perkins Road, and it's about a 26.5 acre parcel that's totally undeveloped. It's got water all the way around pretty much, and very beautiful area, an area that we've been talking about developing for a long time, but we've been stuck with getting adequate access into the park until recently. So we've got an opportunity tonight to talk about some options that the city has that we can take a look at, and I can show you a couple of the photos that we are discussing that were in your packet tonight. One of the property owners down in this area has offered to donate some land to the city to build this road. So the proposal is to move the current Perkins Road south of its current location, anywhere from 40 to 100 feet. We haven't finalized on how far that's going to be moved back yet. But they are willing to donate this property if the city wants to go in and develop a road into the park. We are also waiting to hear back from another parcel owner that owns approximately 600 feet of property that we would not necessarily need, but we would like to move the whole section of the road back at the same distance from the length of the park to all the way to Cherry Lane, which is a road, a public road. That's the first left after you turn off of on Perkins Road.
Could you show that on the other
Yep,
map, John?
I've got it right here.
So is the red line the current, or?
Yes, the red
Okay.
line is the current road.
Okay.
And it's not much of a road.
You want me to get it smaller?
It's
or
just,
what?
Yeah,
it's
just
from
clear it
back
up
in the day when those
Right,
were all
this is what it's
cabins.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if you go down there, I mean, it's more the kind of lane and I mean, not,
Now, where
it's
you
just
trying
lane
to
and a
see?
half, but
Driveway.
it's not up to standards, I guess we would say. Maybe Ted would say if it's standards or not, but it's old.
Okay.
Yeah. We have a paved portion that's, we have 33 feet of right-of-way down to about this point here. After that, it's a goat trail. It's 12 feet wide, basically, one-lane road, dirt road, going back to the parcel of land that we own, which is right here, that we acquired from Park Dedication here 2 years ago.
Thank you.
So what we're hoping to do is to develop a road from this point of the city property. Here's the park. Here's the park right here. This is a city parcel. And put the road in all the way across to Cherry Lane, which is on this side.
1,200 feet or something?
Yeah, 1,256 feet.
And the owners are going to donate that property?
They are going to donate the land from this point to this point.
Wow.
Okay, and the other 6.5 acres, is that Corps of Engineer? Whose property is that?
This one here?
Yeah.
This is another private property owner that owns this parcel, this additional parcel, and then there's one parcel on the other side of Cherry Lane that goes out to 103, actually. It's all one. We're only dealing with two owners. That's what's so rare about this. We don't have a lot of players in this game. One is willing to go ahead and donate this land. This project has been, when I was hired here in my interview, the day I came in to work for the city of Cross Lake, this was one of the highest priorities for the city, is to be able to one day get this park developed. Now, we've been working on this for 18 years. This is the first time we've ever had someone come to us and say, look, we want to move that road. We don't want the traffic next to our houses. We're willing to donate the land.
So
It
what are
might be
the-
a one-opportunity deal for us.
What are the landowners that are donating the land, what do they stand to benefit from it?
They don't want the road right next to their house. Right now, the dirt and dust that comes off
So
that
the
road.
owners are the lake shore owners also?
Yes, they're lake shore owners, and they own this 13-acre parcel right
And the
here.
existing roadbed is then going to go to the lake shore owners? 'Cause
It'll go
it's a
to,
trade.
yes, the driveways will come off that road, and that will also be the road back to the park, so.
Because I think there's a few of them that don't have room for septics or whatever, I mean, so.
Yes, I mean, that's some of the things that we've covered is, you know, the tough question is, you know, talking to some realtors and what do you do with these small parcels that we could potentially create here? They're not really big enough for lots. We've got gas lines running through there. It's not an easy project. I don't want to give you the perception that this is a slam dunk deal. You're talking about moving some utilities. You're talking about incorporating some driveways in here. We are talking about some common lot line adjustments if the owners decide to sell this property to the folks that live on the water, so they'd have a back lot. We'd vacate that road, so all that land would just allow them maybe to build an accessory structure. It'd give them room for a septic system. These lots are very tight down in this area, so alternate septic sites really don't exist on some of these places. They're just so small. So as far as protecting the waters, and there's all kinds of positives to the project. And we've talked about a lot of exciting things and a lot of controversial topics tonight. When we talk about looking at developing neighborhoods and having neighborhood park like this where you've got access to the water in that area off 103, which has got a lot of undeveloped land down there, and talking about affordable housing and having amenities that are going to bring families into communities. Having a site like this is a perfect example of how you can promote a development and have people have a wonderful resource to come and raise a family
So
here.
this phase of what you're asking for is just to put that road in to get to the city property?
Yes, that's all we are concentrating on right now. Let's just get the road in, whether we develop the park next year or 20 years from now or 50 years from now. If we don't take advantage of this opportunity to gain access to that park right now, we might not ever get it. This is kind of our one opportunity, and I don't say that in a way. We've been working 18 years on this. This is the only opportunity we've ever had for this, and you've got a property owner that's willing to donate the land for it.
Brad Nelson is the liaison to Park and Rec. Brad, do you have any comments on this?
John has done a very good job of explaining this. There really isn't a downside. I mean, generally with every project, other than, of course, we're going to have to spend a little bit of money to develop the road, but we already have the real estate and have had the real estate for the potential park. Part of what the design team talked about was public beach. They talked about access to water. You know, I mean, everything about this fits into conversations that have been going on. I'm just sitting here thinking, because not that I'm tuning John out, but I know the story because I'm the liaison, so he's kind of explaining things that I'm already privy to. You know, just look at what, for example, I think what, you know, Dave brought up, the savings from budget to completion of just what we saved in roads right now. I mean, here's an opportunity where you miss this opportunity from these landowners, and to put this piece of the puzzle together in the future becomes a very daunting task. This is a very unique opportunity, and I think it just needs to be acted upon. And the only thing is money, 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 right? I mean, I understand it's money, but the opportunity is here. You've got landowners that want to work with it. You're not going to get any complaints. I mean, how often do you do something and not get a complaint from one landowner? I think we found out tonight that can be kind of rare. So there's nobody on that existing road that isn't. You know, like I said, it was developed. You know, the road was put in back when they were cabins. You know, the fishing cabins of the 50s and 60s and early 70s. And now there's big houses that have replaced those. And you know, it's just the whole thing's just a win-win.
103.
You know, we talk about the more septic room. We talk about a road, and Ted can tell you that road is not a very easy one for the city to take care of. I mean, it's just a win-win.
I don't know.
It's the only way we can describe it.
What you're looking for tonight, John, is a motion from the council.
Yeah, we just want to get some preliminary costs and some concepts for that road. So we're not asking you to start building the road tonight, but we'd like to work with whoever you want us to work with, whether we go out with RFPs or we work with our current city engineer. I'm just looking for direction for the council, how you want to come up with the estimates of what this road could potentially cost, so we can come back in May and review that then. And that'd give you some time to kind of look at those figures and think about it, and it gives us some time to talk to the other property owner down there that we haven't got the okay from yet, that we need to talk to, and he had his property listed for sale last winter. It didn't sell. So, you know, you're kind of dealing with someone that still owns that property. Hopefully they'll go along with it. We can move that road away from them, but if he sells that property, now all of a sudden you're dealing with someone else. They might have a change in heart, and maybe this guy won't go along with it. If this gentleman doesn't go along with our proposal, then we look at continuing the right-of-way, that's the 33 feet that ends right here, and bringing that road back into this area and coming back to the park. So the traffic will still be next to all these places along here, but if we want to develop the park, that's the only way we can do it. There are some benefits for doing that. You don't have to move part of the utilities all the way. You're going to have to move them from this point on. So there's some changes there, but we'd really like to take that road straight back, get the road away from everybody. We think it's good for the long-term benefit of that community down there, and it's the right thing to do. But I don't want to speak for that gentleman that hasn't cleared this yet. We still need to talk to him, and working with the local realtor to make that connection, and hopefully he is on board at helping us out to get this situation resolved.
So do you want a cost to do the road?
Yes, that's what I'm looking for, the road.
So you don't want any drawings yet, you just know how many feet, how many, and there's some assumptions that the engineering firm can make.
Yeah, there's some things that we need to look at and to talk to some of those property owners about how far we move that road back. We need to look at our planning and zoning ordinance about where we could potentially put that road. Looking at that if these small lots are sold to those neighboring property owners, how do we do that? They're substandard lots. They're not going to be separate parcels that you can really build a structure on. They're not that big. So there's a lot of interchangeable parts here that we're going to be talking about, but getting a rough estimate on the road, and we'd like to put a trail in here. Now, this is going to be a park that we're hoping kids and neighborhoods develop down in this area where kids can ride bikes and not be on the main road and bring them into this area. So it'd be a road and a trail is what we're looking at. We don't have to do the trail, but we would want to get estimates for that also, so we can weigh that out when we get to the council.
Are there any other questions for John?
Does John need a motion to
Yes,
move
I think he
forward on
has a
this?
pretty straightforward on the information that he left for us. So I'll move that we establish an amount of not to exceed $10,000 for the preliminary conceptual design of Perkins Road. Is there a second on that?
Should we make the comment, would you work through the current city engineer to assist him with that plan? I mean, does that need to be
John,
part
you
of
want
the...
to work? Sure.
Yeah.
And that he work with our
Yep.
current
I'm just looking for direction, however you guys
city
want to do it.
engineer?
That, I would make that part of the motion.
Okay.
Okay. Is there a second on the motion?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Now, that doesn't mean we're going to spend $10,000. I want to be clear
That's
about that,
correct.
because I don't think we're talking about that much money to do what we're talking about here. I just didn't know how far in depth we were going to get with this first section. I mean, these folks really want to see this road get into action this year, so we also want to get these estimates in and make some decisions and hopefully move this thing forward if we can.
So you can work with Mike to write the
Yep.
scope and the deadline.
Yep, and we worked with
right.
Bolton on our tennis court project a few years
Yeah,
ago, so I'm
okay,
familiar
great.
with their
Perfect.
staff, yeah.
Great.
But we'll always take the bike trail, all that stuff doesn't have to go until the park is there.
You're going to want to design the bike
You wanna
trail
have
when you
space
put the
for
road
it.
in, obviously,
Right, you
yeah,
want it,
so.
but
But that
But
could
you
wait.
can break
Dave,
that
yeah.
down in two pieces, you know,
Yeah.
right, right.
We could do that
So we
later.
can look at
Yep.
it and...
So-
Are there any other questions or comments
Nope,
for
not
John
here.
before we vote? Okay, all those in favor of the motion on the table signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
See, John, always come up late at the end of a long meeting.
know
It's
you
just
guys
like,
are
whatever
wore
you
down.
need, dude,
Sorry
that's all right.
Okay, last but not least, Brad Perkins, our city attorney tonight, and any reports from you?
Yeah, well, it's in your packet. I just wanted to make sure the council knew what we were doing on, the city engineer or already talked about, we're trying to crank out Anchor Point and Melinda Shores, and we needed easements ahead of time. But what I'm proposing is not easements, because there's a whole lot of people, and to get easements from all those people would take a long time. So it would save money and save time if we just did a quiet title action, it's called, which is a lawsuit, but it's a friendly lawsuit. I'll have a nice cover letter with it. So.
Is new?
Well, no, it's just the fastest way. I've done it quite a few times before on other projects, but it's just when you got a lot of people, it's just a whole lot faster and cheaper to just do it by lawsuit than get 72 easements. Especially in this area, neck of the woods, when people aren't around all that often. I mean, it'd take forever and a day to hunt them down and get signatures.
Do you expect any opposition from any of them?
Well, Dave could speak to the alignment better than me, but I mean, obviously, that's one reason why we're doing this. I mean, Anchor Point and Melinda have both been there forever. I hope nobody challenges that there's a city road there, but not all the legal descriptions of people's deeds right now line up with the road. And that's another reason why I do it this way. If, like on the one that John just mentioned, that'd be easy, just get easements. There's only a couple landowners, and clearly the people own the land where the new road's going. Here there's an existing road, and a lot of the legal descriptions end actually where the old road corridor is. Nobody owns the middle where the road is, because it's been a road. It hasn't been given to the city of Cross Lake, but it's kind of no man's land. So I can't get it, getting an easement from a neighbor isn't gonna help. They don't own it. So it's just a way to, Melinda Shores, for example, is an old private, I don't need a motion, I just want to make sure.
Right. Information
When I start
only?
serving people, when I say serve, I'm going to mail them a nice friendly letter and just ask them to accept service and say, hey, this is just, the road's going to stay exactly where it is now, no changes, it's just nice new blacktop, no assessment. Somebody might call you, kind of, what's going on? I don't want the council to hear from a citizen before they saw it from me, so. Is that?
You do need to be aware, though, that when you say not moving, that it's got that 6-foot shoulder going on it.
Well, yeah,
So,
you're right.
and,
Melinda, I think, is purely a resurfacing. Anchor Point is shifting a bit. We have a nice map that's going to show all that. It's also going to say that it'll be staked in the next couple weeks as a plan, so they can kind of physically go out there and see it. But again, I don't have to do this. I could get easements. It's just, it might be months before I get.
No,
All
I
of
would
them.
say go for it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, good. Thank you for the update.
Learn something new every day.
Anything else, Brad, that?
That was all I had,
Okay.
unless there's any other questions.
Lawsuit. I've
Okay,
never heard
great.
of that. Is that like fake news?
We are now back to our public forum. Again, no action will be taken on any of the issues raised. If appropriate, the issues will be placed on the agenda of a future council meeting. The speaker must state their name and address. Each speaker is given a 3-minute limit. And so, gosh, I think your time is up. No. Anyway, we want to make sure that all voices are heard. So if anybody else has any comments, please come up to the podium. Okay, is there any old business? Any new business? And before we adjourn tonight, I want to thank you guys for sticking it out until the very end. And I think one thing I have learned tonight is that it is so important that our voices, and I mean yours, are heard. So when you hear about special council meetings or public forums, you need to be there. You need to attend these meetings. So thank you very much, and this meeting is adjourned.